Opening up strange.exes sent over questionable chat programs rarely goes well, and this won't either. SUPERHOT puts you in the shoes, or rather the Trinus cardboard VR headset of a chronic Discord user looking to kill some time with a particular cracked video game. But are you the protagonist, or are you the metaphysical urge? The impulse that drives our protagonist to keep playing, to keep isolating further, even through head trauma. A compulsion so strong it's rarely seen outside of stake.com users. First, the basics. SUPERHOT is a 2016 shooter puzzle game, surely the most innovative first-person shooter you've played in years, developed by Polish indie team SUPERHOT team under director Piotr Iwanicki. The concept of the game is simple. Time only moves when you move. As such, it is a first-person shooter, technically as well as principally. You can, after all, still miss your shots, especially when your crosshair starts auspiciously blending into the background. The stark graphics will be the first thing you notice. Insofar, I haven't been relegated to your third monitor, which understandable. The environment is various shades of white and very white. The weapons and objects you can use are black and the bad guys are red. However, many of the principal gameplay elements of shooters, being fast-paced, reflex contingent, understanding recoil and spread control, as well as having a battle pass forced down your throat, is simply not present in SUPERHOT. You'd imagine that it would make a shooter way too easy, but the game is harder than it seems, even with your almost permanent Max Payne or Neo bullet time. Multiple enemies can quickly overwhelm your decision-making processes with too much lead, and the bullets can be difficult to spot until it simply is too late. This is where the puzzle aspect comes into play. It is not so often a question of hitting your shots, punches and throws, but rather who to target first. Threat assessment will be your most valuable skill in SUPERHOT. Not keeping your head on a swivel gets you iced. Hyper-focusing on one enemy when multiple are present gets you iced. Shooting the guy still picking his nose while his buddy takes aim at you with his double-barreled street sweeper gets you iced. These are of course also true for normal shooters, but despite technically being a first-person shooter, the opportunity cost time management aspect is the most central mechanic. Every move you make, every shot you take consumes precious time resources, but conversely, every action you don't take keeps you suspended in time. Most weapons have significant refractory periods, and a wasted shot at an enemy not yet posing immediate danger for you could spell your end. Deciding when your gun has served its usefulness as a projectile propulsion device and instead graduated to a blunt projectile device itself is paramount, and enemies are quite charitable in giving up their weapons in response to blunt force trauma. But any action always accelerates time forward, and you must account for all possible outcomes before making your decision. The conceit of the gameplay is to put you into situations where real time simply would be impossible for anyone but the most ESP, aimbot no recoil equipped Slav. Bullets can be dodged until the very last moment, or even blocked by thrown objects, your own bullets, or by the study of the blade. Despite time moving as slow as it does, your decisions are on a razor-thin margin, as best conveyed by showing the real-time footage graciously provided by the game itself. It is clear to anyone who has had the fortune of watching the first two Matrix movies and then getting into a fatal car crash before being subjected to the third how alike the fast-paced movements are. The gameplay really is an amazing mixture between emergent puzzle and first-person shooter, and a very good representation of how it must feel to be Neo Unleashed. Once you understand the enemy's perfect anticipatory aim pattern, you can gain their lead, perfectly dodging volleys of bullets. With enough objects in your near vicinity, you can incapacitate entire rooms. Timing punches, throws and jukes turns untenable situations into action scenes straight out of the Matrix. The impossible becomes possible, and the series of agonizing choices you made across a few minutes suddenly play out in but a few thrilling seconds in the replay. A bit of a shame that the replay is initially covered up by the SUPERHOT text, rather than letting you revel in the spectacle. But what exactly is the background of the spectacle? Now, I love going deep, but remember, this is just one dude on the internet's interpretation of the game. Chatting with one of your friends, you are sent a cracked EXE, allowing you to log into a mysterious company's website to play the game SUPERHOT. As such, the main menu is a bit of an alternate reality, with SUPERHOT being a game within a game. There are other menu options for you to explore, as well as other games like Tree Dude with the Tree Song, or SHRL, which pokes fun at SUPERHOT's fake chat with its own fake chat, providing you with a game in a simulation inside another simulation, which itself is a game. Inside SUPERHOT.exe, the levels are simple, stark and contrastful, much like how the story of the game is presented at first. You are given ample time to learn the value of immediate threat recognition, positioning and timing in what seems to be a random selection of shooting galleries. The goal is simple: kill everyone to complete the map and then hand over control to proceed. Curious. There is no rhyme or reason with the enemies. They are present and they are mostly always aggroed on you from the very beginning. There are a few curiosities in the environment: computer hardware, cables and wires, as well as surveillance cameras in every single map. Depending on where you live, of course. CCTV cameras are not an uncommon sight, but these are not for the benefit of all the dumped Alienware trash littering the maps. They are for you. They are watching only you. Before much thought can be given to your personal surveillance, the game glitches out. Consistent with most people's experience with cracks, virtual hard drives and Russian unpackers. Or, so I've been told. Your friend is quickly on the case, however. A new crack unlocks another 5 maps and another 5 shooting galleries, increasing in enemy count and puzzle shooter complexity, but otherwise remains the same. The Matrix vibe somewhat continues. It feels like an endless cavalcade of training rooms. Programs run, not necessarily meant to truly simulate reality, but to serve the purpose of something. In the first Matrix, it is training. Neo must learn that he is in a simulation and thus able to break and bend the rules of the world, now that his mind is no longer Duracell pilled. Free your mind. Neo, the protagonist, must further separate his mind from the malleable simulation created by the machines. Every training room program helps him break the control the system has on him, culminating in the ultimate power of avoiding inner city traffic congestion. Conversely, every level, every program run requires you to hand over control. To whomst? The same red enemies in the same quick in and out arbitrary rooms? Or to those behind the same surveillance cameras from every earlier map tracking your every move? Then, another glitch.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
Unauthorized access once again rips you away from your game. The game you've apparently been playing for hours on end, despite it only feeling like minutes. Quite the opposite experience to playing Mass Effect Andromeda. In reality, the reality which you allegedly inhabit, the levels haven't taken more than a few minutes in total, unless of course you are experiencing an amount of skill issues. How in tune are you actually with our in-game protagonist? Are you one and the same? Or do you inhabit another layer of their psyche? Has the diegetic game time truly been several hours? Or is our friend a hyperbolic, unreliable source? Who among us hasn't lost a few hours to peak gaming? And SUPERHOT, being as innovative as it is surely a worthwhile time sink despite its seeming simplicity. No plot, no nothing. Just killing red guys. Irrelevant now, unfortunately. The next SUPERHOT.exe is unfortunately password protected and FitGirl has been slacking. Oh well. Onwards to the next game in your undoubtedly massive backlog. Oh? Random inputs cracked the password. coincidence or providence. There are no hints for the password. You don't need to input anything specifically yourself. Whatever your second guess is happens to be the correct one. Back in the game, everything is as it seems, CCTV and all, until the game glitches again. But this time, you are not simply booted back to the main menu. Are you with them? Who is them? There is no opportunity to answer. Within a short few seconds, you are doxxed by the game and your severe tech neck exposed for all to see. Not even your private Discord server is safe anymore. Your friend seemingly did not have the same luck as you getting into the game, but your messages are changed as they are sent, antagonizing your friend from further playing Superhot. The red glitch effect suggests that whatever it is you've been handing over control to now is also in control of your in-game computer software, and whatever it is seemingly do not want others to play more of Superhot. Re-entering the game, you find yourself in a tutorial, a sparse cell with your only friend, the ubiquitous CCTV, although beyond the bars, a camcorder is pointed towards your cell. The tutorial is remarkably simple, requiring you only to move and stand still, possibly allowing even IGN reporters to progress further as well. But upon completion, you are patronized by the game. The game that was such a simple affair of just killing red guys is now becoming personal. It, whatever or whoever it is, addresses you directly now. It allows you to play for only a short time and then yanks you back into the cage by your digital leash to dance for its amusement and to dissuade you from continuing. You are shown yourself again, or at least your physical body. They are watching you and you are losing control. Your body engrossed in the virtual game while your mind is stuck in the prison of their making. Let's have a little chat. Whatever or whomever you are chatting with is quickly distinguished by the red color of their messages. The same red glitchy color that changed your messages earlier. You are warned that Superhot is not a game, but rather a tool, and that you should stop playing immediately. The protagonist acquiesces, promising not to. You re-enter Superhot and the level looks very much like the Imperial Staircase location for the Merovingian fight in Matrix Reloaded, a fight preceded by the infamous orgasm cake scene, but also a very telling quote from the perspective of a program such as the Merovingian.
Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
Free will for our protagonist is illusory. You and them are no longer one and the same. Usually in games you occupy the protagonist almost fully, often even allowed to style them after your visage. The you, currently slumped in a steel case chair with approximately 3 different screens vying for your attention, is the manifestation of free will of the protagonist. But in Superhot, you become the manifestation of the loss of free will. The body here is a slave to the digital world, but the mind is dancing at your keyboard's input. At any time you can leave the game and never pick it up again, much like the protagonist promised, but our own compulsion to continue playing, to see the conclusion, drags the protagonist by force back into the system. There was no choice at all when you hold all the power of progress and Superhot holds all the power of the software. The protagonist in a video game is always a passenger to the player's choice, but there is a distinct feel of growing disconnect between in-game body and player. When the protagonist promises not to continue playing, you are the subconscious compulsion to enter the system regardless, and the system forces you to punish your diegetic physical body, the manifestation of the protagonist. Pay yourself a visit. It is you, the mind, that walks to your body, and it is you that commands the swing. The loss of self is almost complete. I can't control myself. I'm not even typing these words. I don't know what to do. The system tells you that your story ends here and doesn't allow you to play the game anymore or even peruse the other menu choices. A horrific fate, being excluded from enjoying more Tree Dude. The only choice is to finally quit, with a quick warning from the game. This is your final test. Which way, Western man? Re-engaging with the game is the final frontier for our protagonist, the last leap before total loss of self. The game strongly suggests that control has been handed over to the software when it controls your message output to the outside world, when it controls what programs can be run on your PC, but you, the player, initiate the assimilation. Was our protagonist simply lying when promising not to re-enter the game? Or was rationality and bodily autonomy overridden by the urge and compulsion of the mind? You and them are no longer the same. The rationality of the body panics, but there is no more control, not of the system and not of themselves. The urge is fully in control of both mind and body now, and judging by the chat messages, SUPERHOT is now fully in control of the system. There are no dialogue options colored for her pleasure. All we are presented with is our protagonist's chat messages and attempts at chat messaging. Maybe we're overcooking this particular meal and we just happen to be a fly on the wall as some schmuck gives in to digital addiction, but the admittance of losing control, of not even typing the words appearing in the chat while we're the ones clicking our keyboards, would suggest that the player is more than just the method of mechanical progression, but also metanarrative addiction, successful only due to the strength and quality of SUPERHOT's actual innovative gameplay. It's easy to imagine our protagonist in their room, simply unable to remove the headset and touch grass, while you, not a passenger, but is more like a parasite. This is the final time we will ever hear from the protagonist. Returning to the game, you are given the final tool to complete the last levels. The hot switch allows you to assume control of any enemy in your vision field. Once again, there is a strong resemblance to the Matrix. The agents can hijack or possess anyone in the system, taking complete control of them. The agent possession is one of the ultimate expressions of control by the Matrix system. As long as you are connected to the software and the mainframe, you are never truly autonomous as a blue pill, always a potential disposable tool. In SUPERHOT, we have developed inversely with the Matrix movie, handing over more and more control, allowing the system to further indoctrinate us. With such a powerful ability, how could you not see how disposable physical bodies actually are? The hot switch is about as powerful an ability as you can get. It has a cooldown, but is essentially a get out of jail free card. Any enemy you can see, you can hijack. And while they drop their weapons in the process, leaving you unarmed, you can easily get past this by disarming them first. The hot switch also functions as an insta-kill. If the enemy is the last enemy on the map, hot switching essentially kills them immediately without any skill required. But before long, SUPERHOT interrupts your gameplay with an ASCII art brain. Not the ASCII art I'm used to, but the message is clear. SUPERHOT is no longer addressing the unity of body and mind, it is addressing only the mind. Only you. You are our tool now, and you will be used as seen fit to destroy a mysterious enemy. Want details? Too bad, unless of course you are a god tier level of speed reader. The details in question is an end user license agreement explaining the speed of which it is skipped. The user agreement is unique in many ways, however, such as the right to inflict harm on anyone who threatens the system, a unique stipulation rarely seen outside of Disney licenses. But the most interesting is the truth, the final segment of the EULA. There are a number of different random truths you can receive as you play SUPERHOT. These truths are most likely the case of an unreliable narrator, given the sheer amount of different truths. What SUPERHOT is never revealed in the game. Regardless of which stated purpose of SUPERHOT is presented is irrelevant. You are put back into the game, and after each level you are forced to repeat the mantra of the system. Mind is software, bodies are disposable. The system will set you free. Finally, you reach the core, or the hallway to the core. Bundles upon bundles upon bundles of cables coalescing, all leading to the same place. Where do these cables come from? Are they the same cables from earlier missions? Cables carrying chat room data files containing only God knows what? Then your final choral repetition. I will hot switch into the core. Good dog. The core has the same stark red color like the enemies you've been slaughtering throughout, holding off endless hordes until you can finally hot switch. Your mind is slowly uploaded into the core until you're dragged out forcibly. Superhot is not the hardest game in any given situation, assuming you've performed your mandatory 360 ballerina spin, giving every enemy in your vicinity an ocular pat down. You usually have so many options available for your next move. Even if you get caught in an unfortunate 12-gauge spread pattern, the maps are always so short and restarting immediately gets you back into the action, but the core is definitely where Superhot bears its fangs the most. The enemy stream is endless from all angles, and being forced to save your hot switch ultimate for the core makes the desperation palpable. It's not just the narrative forcing you into the core. You literally cannot kill enough red guys to have a moment of peace. Gameplay is as much forcing you as the story is. Third time's the charm, however, and you finally succeed in assuming control of the core and its immense powers, quickly eradicating the last of your enemies. But something remains. You are weak, as shown several times before. The mind is still caged. You are still caged. Something is holding you back. You must set yourself free. Stuck in the very same place where you first saw it, the body is weak and unmoving, rooted to screens and cables and digital stimulation. Much like your average Discord Janny engaging in his favorite pastime, there is only one way to end this. For the very last time, hand over your control and become one of us. Having successfully left your useless body behind, eternally joining with the Discord e-kittens and furries, you are now rewarded with being allowed to play Superhot forever. In return, you must spread the gospel. The system requires your friends more software for whatever nefarious purposes it represents. For Superhot, it is important not to be too advertent. You must not reveal the nature of the system nor the journey. There is cause to wonder why Superhot would lock itself behind a password, why it would dissuade your friend from playing it further, and why it would make you punch yourself in punishment for pursuing the game. Perhaps it is like The Matrix, starting with searching for Morpheus and following the White Rabbit. Before you can even be given the choice of blue and red pill, remaining under control of the system or freeing your mind, you have to prove yourself wanting to leave to know the truth. You have to prove that your mind's compulsion supersedes the rationality of avoiding pain, of giving up when the software is password locked, or literally forces you to shut down the game itself. In many ways, Superhot's ending is inverted from the first Matrix movie. Neo frees himself and his mind, now able to perceive the very code itself, thereby transcending the control of Matrix, the system, rejecting his simulated death and promising to show the humans a reality without control. You follow the opposite path. You do not leave the simulation and regain your body. You upload yourself, your mind becoming software, rejecting your body. You don't transcend the system. You become part of it, assimilating fully into Superhot. And even better, there is no promise of freeing the unknown populace, but rather a responsibility to enslave them. Neo was the one, but you were one of many, and of more to come. Alright, that was a video. If you made it this far, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, comment down below. What did you like about Superhot? As always, support links down in the description, Patreon, and all that good jazz. Now, I want to yap a little bit more about the unlockable secret in Superhot, the non-restricted access to the in-game diegetic chat room you can peruse. I showed a little bit of it in the main part of the video, but there are some fairly interesting segments of the chat. If you finish Superhot, you'll be able to access all maps to replay, and the menu will tell you whether the corresponding secret is cracked or not. Now, here's the sticky part. To unlock the secrets, you gotta engage in a little bit of exploration, sometimes through fake walls, and a lot a bit of annoying platforming. I gotta say, I personally don't understand why unlocking the secrets aren't more in tune with what the core elements of the excellent gameplay are. There is no exploration or platforming present at all throughout the game, but you do have to do some fairly involved jumping to unlock every secret. Tip of the day, of course, being to hold down your spacebar as you jump, since that keeps time slowed down. For me, it would be more pertinent to unlock secrets through some sort of gameplay challenge. Maybe only melee kills, maybe only killing enemies with thrown objects. Maybe you kill the enemies in a particular order before you are allowed to access the terminals. It would make replaying the maps engaging with the intended gameplay much more likely for any given player to do. As it stands, you have to do some pretty annoying exploration and crummy platforming. Take level 11 Break, for instance. You have to be jumping and going to your right as you spawn to remain on the roof, then find a specific place to jump to your demise, engaging with the secret terminal while falling. I understand the secret aspect of unlocking game secrets, obviously, but it seems like a missed opportunity to have some fun with the gameplay instead, the actual fun part of the game. There are some fun visuals in the secret areas you explore, some Five Nights at Freddy, a Kim Wexler convention reference, and so on. Even some disconcerting, quite eerie areas, but nothing that gives us deeper insight into the SUPERHOT lore, so to speak. I guess if there was more than just some strange visual elements, I could forgive the annoying platforming, but instead we're just on hallucinogens. Once you've found all the secret terminals, you gain privileged access to the chat. It's the same chat messages it cycles through, but now you can see how SUPERHOT directs the moderator actively. It's the same color as the chat messages you received throughout the game, and interestingly enough, has no name connected to it, like the other members of the chat. It doesn't reveal too much of what SUPERHOT the system supposedly is, but if we go by the in-game lore, the group chat is unrelated to SUPERHOT on its surface. The chat is called #hacking and is just a nerd Discord channel. With privileged access, we see that the moderator is essentially completely controlled by SUPERHOT. The best showcase is when one of the young members' mom logs on to meet his E-friends. SUPERHOT completely directs what the moderator is supposed to write, alleviating suspicion and allowing SUPERHOT to retain control of a potential future member. Once again, I'm reminded of Follow the White Rabbit from The Matrix, just inverted. You are not just recruited into escaping the system or becoming part of the system, you have to put in the legwork yourself. You have to really want it, as the mod says in the group. Indoctrination is initiated by receiving the crack or the superhot.exe, but you're only a useful asset if you have the right temperament or nature for assimilation. The addiction that precedes letting go of your corporeal body has to be nurtured by your own compulsion to play the game. In the group chat, an absolute tree dude giga chat logs on and has to be kicked out because SUPERHOT is competing with other addictive games for the minds they are attempting to condition. Another example is when the 17-year-old female fishing bot appears. Twice, actually, and SUPERHOT comments that this is a specific weakness of the chat room, probably due to the age demographic they're targeting. In fact, the chat has multiple references to the young age of SUPERHOT's targeted demographic, which does not reflect well on SUPERHOT being one of my favorite games and how addicted I am to the gameplay. Another interesting similarity to The Matrix. Morpheus mentions that they never free people from the system once they've reached a certain age. In the group chat, an old fella logs on and is immediately dismissed by SUPERHOT. He won't understand. Suffice to say that younger minds are especially more impressionable, therefore much easier for SUPERHOT to inoculate. Alright, that's plenty yapping. All in all, the privileged chat is interesting, but not really worth the hassle of unlocking every secret terminal, which is a highly annoying task. Just watch a YouTube video or read a transcript. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, comment down below. What was your favorite part of SUPERHOT?